I've been in your waters. I'm looking for sure. I've never been so close before. It's one way or the other.
Okay. What do you want to hear first?
Well, I'd like to hear about your life in Puerto Viejo. How's life over there? Is it? I've heard that it's a little more difficult than it is maybe in the Central Valley or in like San Jose area.
So a few things to say about it. It's a beautiful place to visit, especially if you are, you're visiting for a few weeks, even, a month or so. But in reality, long term, there are provisions that you need to make. One, as far as realizing that if you do not have a car, you will be either in taxis or on a bike when it comes to gathering food supplies, water, gas, and doing laundry. So that is something that you have to keep in mind.
Oh, and by the way, when we're talking about that, we were just chatting before I started the video about going into town to get the gas and the inclines and whatever. Can you just maybe throw that a little bit of that information in about?
Sure. Depending on where you live in Puerto Viejo, you can more than likely bet that you'll be living either on some type of mountain or a hill. And if that's the case, you'll need to carry those items up a hill.
Right. Now, ours wasn't the most dramatic or the steepest. The way the country is made, along the coast, everything is flat. But as soon as you get about 100 meters off the coast, the inclines begin. And so most houses and buildings are built a little further inland for obvious reasons, which means you're going up. So if you don't have a vehicle, it's going to be leg power getting you up there, regardless of what you have. And it's a small place. So there are restaurants, there are stores and things like that, but they can be spread out a little bit. So, for instance, we have a little breakfast spot, really cute, got a lot of character, but it's about 2 miles away.
It's in Playa Chiquita. Yeah.
So if you want to go, you either have to be willing to take your time and wait a while, or be willing to have a couple of beads of sweat on you as you eat your brunch.
Because you ride if you're riding your bike.
Right. Right.
And like you said, being that it is a small town, like you said, maybe 2 to 4 miles going each way from Playa Chiquita to the beginning of Puerto Viejo. However, so one thing he mentioned about restaurants. There are restaurants there. Sometimes they open and then sometimes they close for whatever reason they decide to close. Things will close down. So one thing you have to do is find a place that's consistent. You find restaurants that are consistent with the food, with the service, and those are the places you stick with. I think we may have about 4 restaurants in total out of all the restaurants that are in Puerto Viejo or in that area that we actually go to, because we know the food is going to be pretty good, we know the service is decent, and we're going to get the same thing that we order every time. So there's that. Another thing that I would like to caution people, actually bring attention to, is that healthcare is pretty much obsolete over there. Or if you have a severe emergency, let me just say that. There have been a few times, like I had some type of animal bite, spider, I don't know what it was. So I had to go to the pharmacy, and they're gonna give you antibiotics. And for some of us that may not be the best for our bodies. But if you have like a serious issue or healthcare injury, you'll probably end up at the clinic. There's a wait at the clinic, then they'll probably shuttle you to Limon and eventually shuttle you over to San Jose. So if you think about that in an emergency situation, it may not always be the most conducive, I guess to say, to think about, just to, if you, in terms of if you're moving over there and you do have any type of health issues.
Right.
Is the clinic in Limon? Or in Puerto Viejo?
There's a clinic in Puerto Viejo and in Home Creek, if I'm not mistaken, which is another town maybe 10 minutes outside of Puerto Viejo.
Okay.
But there's another hospital, if I'm not mistaken, in Limon.
It is, I won't say it's demanding. Frankly, you have to be able-bodied. You have to be able to get around. I don't think there's any concept of ACA compliance, right? So,
None.
there are no ramps or things like that. You want to be pretty sure-footed out there. Now, it's beautiful. It's laid back. That being said, part of that depends on your attitude. You have to be willing to really, really go with the flow and be willing to go without things that aren't immediately available. Part of the beauty of it is the isolation. You have to make a conscious effort to get out there. But part of the drawback is the isolation. You have to make a conscious effort to get out of it.
Yeah,
Right?
because you're there and that is it. You are in Puerto Viejo and that is pretty much where you a whole lot around there. And once you're there, after you've gone to the beach, however many times you've gone to the beach, going on the chocolate tours, seen the jaguars, you've kind of done everything that you can do. And like you said, it's a beautiful place, but going with the flow and knowing that this is it is something that you have to wrap your mind around.
And how long have you been living there now?
A year?
Almost a year.
Yeah.
What would be the thing that you think was the biggest surprise? Maybe when you were going there, you thought it was going to be a particular way, or something surprised you, or
So many things. Let me see. The biggest surprise was the way I was surprised at how quickly things mowed over there.
do you have a dehumidifier?
Yeah, but it doesn't matter.
Ours, yeah. Ours doesn't work.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Because the homes are structured in a way that they encourage airflow and the breeze and things like that. You have screens in the roof that allow the hot air to escape. But it works against you if you have a dehumidifier, because it ultimately starts pulling in air from outside.
Right.
And you aren't going to dehumidify the Caribbean coast. It's just not going to happen. So.
What about the temperature? And then I'm going to let you eat.
We haven't. There have been, for some people, and I think this is a product of being from the South, being from New Orleans. So the heat is not necessarily a deal breaker for us, because for us it seems as though Puerto Viejo has been cooler than being in the hottest of New Orleans. And there have been times when it has been hot. But overall, it's a pretty, it's a Caribbean temperature, so don't think that it's not going to be warm, but it's okay. Even at night, it doesn't cool off so much, but you're still pretty comfortable without AC. We haven't had a point where we're like, oh, we need AC. Like I said, there have been a few nights where we have noticed that it's
Pretty
hotter
hot.
than usual. But I think overall you get used to it. And again, like he said, it's certain things that you get used to, certain things that you're willing to put up with. You do have to be mindful of the cost, because you are on the coast, so things are imported. Especially those creature comforts that you may be used to. Those types of things are a little bit more expensive, and they're a little bit less easier to access.
Well, let's say this, though. If you do have to get something, or you want something that you can't get there, what do you do? Are you having it muled in? Is there someplace you can go?
I'm usually
Amazon.
Amazon is non-existent.
Okay. No Amazon.
We can't recommend Amazon. We haven't had the experience. That being said, based on folks who've been there and who've talked to us about that experience, it's a roll of the dice. because first it has to come in
To
from
the-
wherever to
to
San
customs.
Jose through customs. And then it has to get from San Jose
To Limon.
to Puerto Viejo, and that's where the real question marks start popping up,
Oh.
because it's coming on trucks, and each of those trucks are probably sized down as they come to Puerto Viejo.
How does it get delivered though? Does it come to your
Oh,
house?
It would come to
a
a
post
postal
office.
station.
Okay,
Yeah.
so a postal station,
Yeah.
like an
So,
arrow
yeah.
post, like we have up here.
Yeah.
Right, correos.
So-
And you can get a box, like a P.O. box or something like that. You know, we've looked into it. But again, even if you have a P.O. box, the level of certainty as far as receiving deliveries is not what it is in the States.
Plus, I know here when I did it only one time, they put a lot of custom
That's what I
fees
was
on
going to
it.
say. You are going to pay whatever you pay for the item. You're
double.
more than likely pay double for that in trying to get the item here. So
Right.
we typically just make little lists, and whatever we need for that, after that 90-day run, we'll just
You go
bring it
pick
back.
up. Okay.
Because one thing I will say this: if you are a person that likes to cook, you need to bring your own pots. It is imperative, because the pots there are, if you would like to cook, it would be nice to have a better set of pots and cooking utensils. One thing that I had to end up bringing in was a better blender. I brought in my own knives, and again, I brought in my own pots, because those things are if you're looking for anything of quality, it's kind of difficult to find there.
Right.
Same here.
Yeah, because you're not going to get those things, and if you see it, it's going to be probably triple what you pay for it in the States. So it's just nice to bring those things in. And again, like the electronics are probably not going to be something that you have the access to.
Internet.
Well, let me say this: where we live, we don't have good internet at all. We end up town to access the internet. If we have really like if we need to do something, we end up going there. We've heard that other people have really good internet. We do not. So I think that's something that is a case by case basis, especially depending on what your landlord decides they want to pay
Right.
for. Yeah.
And no one in Puerto Viejo has more than about 8 megabits per second download. About 8 is ultra maximum. You're doing great. Like
What do we
if
have?
you find a place with about 8 download, you're doing great.
We're running at about 30.
Really? What? That's
That's fantastic.
Yeah. That's unheard of on that side.
Yeah.
And that's nothing if you compare it to the States, right?
Exactly.
No.
Yeah, the
So
States.
you just
Yeah.
forget about that. Like when
Right.
we came over here, we were like, "Whoa, this is great."
The internet's terrible here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, if you
So-
think this internet is terrible, then wait till you get to.
That is something to be mindful of. There's
Yeah.
there's going to be a limitation on what you'll be able to do online. If you work online, especially in something that is graphic in nature, any kind of video uploads or things like that, that will be a challenge. That will be a challenge. You'll have to
Okay.
modify your online.
Yeah, and there's a co-working space. I think they have fiber optic because they're just starting to get like
Oh.
the fiber optic
That's what I
lines.
mentioned
Oh, because they're
that.
doing that throughout the country.
Yeah. So there's a co-working space that allows you. I think you can pay on a monthly. You can pay per basis, or on a monthly you can get a subscription to their internet access. So that may be something, again, if you're working from home and you need that type of access, that type of internet, to possibly go there and do your work. We have a neighbor who actually goes there almost every day because she has to, she has to work from home and she has to have really good internet access.
And that's in Puerto Viejo proper somewhere?
Yes.
Yeah, in the
yes.
main town.
That's in the main town, yeah.
Wow.
Because
So-
we're right outside of town.
It's a laid back place. It's a beautiful place, but it will require some problem solving and some
Be prepared,
adaptation.
right?
Yeah, it's a unique little place, and it's rare to find any town that's on the water. It's got beautiful sand, beautiful beaches, that is relatively untouched. Not commercialized. There are no 3-story buildings anywhere. I mean, it's a village more than a town.
Right.
So it does have that uniqueness to it. But it, I think it's the type of place that fits a certain point in your life. And I think we're at a point where we've been able to go out there and enjoy it and experience it. But we're also in a transition where there are some things that we'd like a little bit more of.
Right.
A little bit more of, a cultural immersion, a little bit more of, the ability to have access to certain things that we like. So it's been an awesome experience, but it's not all places are meant
For
to stay
everyone.
permanent.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Once you get on the ground.
Okay.
And if you do not like bugs, then do not go there. Okay?
Okay, I'm gonna let you eat. Thank you.